Hello, everybody. My name is Mark, and my dad just lost a fortune because of me. I can explain everything, okay? I didn't do it on purpose. I was just blindly in love, and I didn't think it would turn out the way it did. Okay, let's start from the very beginning. I had a classmate in college. Her name was Janice, and she's incredibly smart. Janice was the best student in the whole program. Moreover, she even found the time to work as an intern at some cool company. Oh, I also forgot to say that she doesn't look like a nerd at all. She was extremely beautiful. Of course, all the boys in her class were totally crushing on her, and I was no exception. It was sad, because I just didn't stand a chance with a girl like that. I'm not one of those cool dudes, you know? A girl like that would never look at me from a romantic point of view. I was just the classic sweet guy. So I got stuck in her friend zone, and I had no idea how to get out of it. But one day, I had a chance, and I took it. I was at my dad's office. He's the head of a law firm downtown. I had to bring some documents for him, and I was in a hurry. Dad didn't like it when I was late, so I was literally running down the hallways. I ran up to the door of my dad's office, but suddenly, a girl appeared out of nowhere, and I knocked her down. A pile of papers flew into the air, and we both landed on the floor. In the next second, I realized it was Janice. I helped her up and apologized for being in such a hurry, telling her my dad just doesn't like to wait. I quickly gave Dad the folder and went back to Janice. We chatted a little bit. It turned out that she was interning at my dad's firm. What a small world. You know, I think that's the day we had the spark that helped me get out of the friend zone. Soon, I worked up the courage and finally asked her out. Imagine how happy I was when she said yes. Oh, and how all the guys in my class envied me. Everything was great. Once I got to know her, I realized she was a better person than I thought. She seemed to like me a lot too, because our relationship was developing pretty rapidly. And soon, it was time for me to introduce her to my parents. I was really worried because my father is a very strict man. He built his firm from the ground up and achieved great success, so he was tough on everyone, even on me and my mom. I tried to get Janice ready for the meeting, like before an interview. I tried to be tough like my dad, and Janice fought back. I guess we did it more for fun, because I couldn't predict what my dad would do. He could be quiet and calm. Or he could be like thunder and lightning. But there was nothing else to do. It was time. So one day, I brought Janice to our house for dinner. It was going to be a difficult evening. As soon as my parents opened the door for us, my dad was very surprised. He didn't expect to see his intern here, but I told him that we were studying together and we've known each other for a while. Then, at dinner, my dad started testing my girlfriend. He asked some very provocative questions and even tried to stump her. But Janice was cool. She skillfully answered literally every question he posed to her. Then my dad pushed even more and moved on to more personal questions. He asked what she saw in me and why she was dating me, as if he suspected her of something. You know, it was pretty unpleasant to hear that from my own father. Then they started talking about work. They got into a tough argument about some law, and I thought that now my father was going to go get his giant encyclopedia and put my girlfriend in an awkward position. But it turned out that Janice was right. I've never seen my father lose an argument before. He always either proved himself right or drove his opponent to such a degree of anger that they simply gave up. But my girlfriend won, and I was incredibly proud of her. At some point, I watched my mom elbow my dad to hint to him that it was time to finish the interrogation. But overall, everything went well. I took Janice home, and I came back to talk to my parents. I said, hopefully, "Well, Dad, what do you think?" And he just said, "She's okay. She's a smart girl." Smart girl? That's it? Yeah, of course. It was my dad, after all. It's not his thing to show emotions, you know? So it was fine. Meeting my father was good for Janice. Dad saw that she was very smart, and he began to trust her with more important work. But our relationship had gotten a little worse. No, we still loved each other. It's just that Janice spent too much time at work, and I missed hanging out with her. So I started a conversation and told her that she should spend less time working and more time with me. She replied that because of her internship, she was loaded with tons of unnecessary work. But everything would change if I could talk to my dad and ask him to promote her. Then she'd have more free time right away. Oh, it's always been hard for me to talk to my dad about work. But I couldn't say no to Janice because I loved her and I wanted to make her happy. So that same evening, I went to my father and gently hinted to him that maybe Janice deserved a promotion. But Dad's reaction was unexpected. He knew this moment would come. He said that Janice was only dating me to get close to him, and if she wanted a higher position, she had to earn it with her mind and hard work, not her connections. I started to argue with him, and I told him that our relationship wasn't like that. Then, my father thought for a moment and told me to bring Janice home tomorrow, and they would talk about a promotion. We went to my father as enthusiastically as we could. But as soon as I started saying that Janice was a great student and that maybe she deserved more than to just be an intern with his company, my dad interrupted me. This talk had made him really angry. He kicked me out of the room and stayed there with Janice, alone. I tried to eavesdrop on their conversation, but it was just them screaming. It looked like he specifically invited her over to make her understand that she was entitled to nothing. After a couple of minutes, Janice ran out in tears. I wanted to talk to her, but she was so upset that she asked me to just leave her alone. I was so angry at my father. He just destroyed my girlfriend and my relationship. I started arguing with him, trying to prove that he was wrong. But all he said was, "If she really loves you, you're still going to keep dating, even if she's lost her job, right?" When I finally got in touch with her, I told her I felt guilty for what my father had done to her, and I asked her how I could make it up to her. She was so angry with me. She said she thought I would have at least stayed and supported her, instead of just leaving her alone with that monster. She would forgive me if we went to my father's office right now, and I fought back against him to prove to him that he was wrong. And I was determined to do just that. We went to his office, where I became angry, and I took charge of the conversation. But it seemed like my words had no effect on my father at all. He quietly listened to me. Then, he said he had a meeting and left the office. I stood in complete confusion. Then Janice said, "What? You're not even going to go after him?" So I ran after my father and tried to continue the conversation, but he was as cold as ice. When I got back to Janice, she said I was weak and that she was disappointed. It was then that I realized what my father had been trying to tell me. The only reason she really dated me was to get a promotion. Of course, she would never have agreed to date me if we hadn't bumped into each other right outside Dad's office that day. Like my dad said, she's a smart girl, and she quickly realized that I could help her get closer to him. Oh, I felt overwhelmed. My father was right, and I should have listened to him. But the real trouble happened after a couple of days. My dad came home early, and he was devastated. He was in such a sorry mood that my mom and I started to worry. And then he told us what happened. He'd had a trial that day, and his opponents somehow knew my father's entire strategy. They knew all of his arguments, and they were able to prepare their rebuttals beforehand. My father lost a very important case and suffered huge financial losses because of it. Not to mention that this very badly tarnished his reputation. He asked me if I'd left Janice alone in his office, and the thing is, I did. While I was running after my father, she was able to take pictures of the documents on my dad's desk, and she took them to his competitors. That way, she could get her revenge on me and my father and get herself another job. And we couldn't do anything about it. Even if we could prove that Janice stole that information, she was just an intern. And all her actions were the responsibility of her superiors. Now, I don't know whether my father's firm will stay afloat or if he'll have to go bankrupt. His life's work is now at stake, and it all happened because of me. He's a smart man, and I should have listened to him, but none of this would have happened if I'd just been able to figure out from the start that my girlfriend was just using me. So be careful, guys. Thanks for watching. Do you know how to tell the difference between sincere feelings and someone who just wants to use you? Tell me in the comments section below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more cool stories.